Hello, Jordan Justice, and thank you for being here today. Welcome to the Mennello Museum Virtual Studio Visits. I'm really glad to have you here and to be able to bring your work to our audiences to show them what you're all about. And as they can see, you've got an awesome piece behind you that you're working on. So Jordan, would you give us an introduction to your work and what you do as an artist?
My name is Jordan Justice. I am a scenic and a creative artist, and most of my works are basically mirroring each other from my profession to my inspiration. And it's basically kind of killing the difference between copying and getting inspiration through personal experience. I like to keep all of my works like very organic and infinite, as far as, so if you were to take the borders off of each of the sides, like these prints or whatever the picture may be, could continue on and be as endless as.
Yeah, I can really see that, this wrapping of bodies and patterns behind you. And I've seen it, you've done it with the snakes and just always twisting and sort of tumultuous and smoky maybe.
Yeah, or I try really hard to base all that I do off of like the patterns and the continuation, but also not getting too dark on itself. Because usually when it's like coming from within and it's like real passionate, it usually comes off kind of dark, and I usually try to steer away from that because it's usually quite the contrary in meaning. So.
Okay, so there's it might feel a little darker, but it has like a resonance of hope, maybe.
A resonance of flow. Like I like to I like all pieces to continue their eyes to flow throughout the picture, not get stuck anywhere. And I think of, like, have you heard of that the darkest black, the Veda black material? Where it's like genetically engineered and they put like little tubes so that it looks like an absent like space. So if you have a piece like that's this big and you have a entire wall that's covered in it, like just because that wall is larger doesn't make it any more endless, you know, as far as the eye can see. So that taking that into consideration with the patterns and keeping a flow. Like it doesn't necessarily matter like how deep it is subject matter of like what I put into it as far as personal experience goes.
Okay, so it's really very much about the movement of the viewer's eyes then.
Yeah. Through
the compositions.
And that's how art, I feel like, should be. It shouldn't be as like what I said with like my job, like it's like constantly like copying and recreating versus you taking something or just putting paint and like recreating this picture, but like you taking something from like how you're feeling at that moment, and you could always tell like like if that artist was really feeling like that movement or what he was trying to say in that message versus just a pure one, you know?
Right. And so if you want to tell the viewers too, you are a scenic artist as well as a professional artist in your time too. So how does that affect your work? Because I see a lot of sculptural to myself.
Yeah, that's how I started off. I was starting like doing a lot of like prop sculptures in scenic art. And it's really blossomed my career as an artist just because I was able to learn new skills, but still at the same time, at least early on, keeping those skills like totally separate from like what I was doing on the side. But just recently, I kind of just merged the two things and like keeping that pattern going and keeping my brand and keeping like a recognizable painting that's coming from me. And I wouldn't have been able to do that without scenic art. But it is quite a curse, if you will, because constantly I always have someone like an art director above me saying that good, no, bad, no, like a little bit more, something like that. There's always like a general direction that they're able to point me. Like and as far as creative goes, I can go a little off my way and maybe they'll buy it, but there's always a direction in a final how it's supposed to look. Versus my art, I don't like. I think it's done when I start to hate, when I start to work on it, and I work on it for 3 hours and I look at it and there's no difference. Like that's usually when I know that it's like, all right, I need to knock this off. So the just breaking that curse between the two is quite a struggle, but I feel like I have found my momentum by incorporating the skills in the two and like really joining those two together.
Awesome. And then you also have this art history background that you studied in school. I end up getting a lot of really El Greco, really burgeoning clouds, and De Goya, almost dreamlike, expressive from your work too.
Well, that's where I really base it off of, was that like religious Renaissance. Like I was brought up like really religious, and like just seeing things like the Sistine Chapel or any of those pieces with like a constant flow, like the really wow pieces where it's like you can feel it. You can feel what they were painting, and you can feel like your eyes continue to move and not stopping. You know, it's the ceiling, and like when looking at like the heavens, like you can tell there's depth in there. So not just like continuous patterns, but also like I like a lot of depth. I like a repetition of organic shapes that might not be a specific pattern, but it is continuous and it is constant.
Okay. So the continuous pattern that you're going through, it's very obviously it's very wild and winding, and it looks like you have figures in the piece behind you. Is that right?
Yeah, those are the product of my COVID experience, being locked in my house, and it was the furthest thing from what was happening at the time, and I picture like the spectrum of people and colors to really line up with each other, and while their arms are crossed, it's like being closed. I remember like growing up as a kid, like if my mother was reprimanding me, my arms would be crossed. That'd be disrespectful because I wasn't taking what she was coming in. So with the flow of this and bodies, but at the same time being closed off, but being as close, like it reflects my experience of basically all of the world being put under house arrest.
That's really interesting. You can feel that like just unease and trying to keep people away, trying to block them even though they're so close, and you can't even be that close anymore.
Never again. never again. That's why we're on Zoom right now. So yeah, like it's definitely a change that was, I feel like it was due for a reset, but nobody expected it to be this drastic.
Right, and it's really interesting, and the way that you can take that, maybe little bit of anxiety and unknowingness from when everything started, and really translate that into your work.
Well, yeah, totally. That's where, as far as like the root of, I feel like most people's inspiration and how they turn it into art and just expression is doubt equals clarity. Like you find a way to figure this out for yourself. You find a way to adapt. Like it's kind of like fear turns into familiar. Like you continuously being exposed, like scared, you're terrified of this thing, but like the third, fourth time you're exposed to this, it's not so scary anymore, it's familiar. So yeah.
Is that kind of where the repetition and the patterns also start to come in?
I would like to think so, because that is your understanding is constant. You could shut yourself off, but you're always going to be longing for that.
Right, and then with that too, I just think of your pieces are so large too. You're really forced in the spaces yourself as the viewer.
Yeah, I was once told, the smaller your canvas, the better the artist. It was, somebody once told me. And it was interesting because like, I see like these bids or these auctions and these tiny paintings like going for however much they go for. But they're powerful. And I could understand that. Or like an artist that paints a beautiful portrait on a grain of rice. Is that like the best artist that you can be? I feel like it should like really come down to like, if you look at like the spectrum of my piece, or since I've really taken art seriously or done it professionally, if you look at it, you can really tell the story of like what I was going, like the story of my life, basically. I know this sounds kind of cheesy, but like kind of what I was going through. It's like I was like in the beginning, like I was like painting like a bunch of bodies of like women and like colors and that reflected on like where I was and like their pain, or like when it got like really dark, and then it kind of blossomed into like how I should be carrying myself professionally, like, or like it got into my brand and it got into something like recognizable. And I'm like humbled, and I could only appreciate that I found it not so quick, but I was able to bite down on something that I know that's me.
Yeah, and it really is, and it's your own unique voice and way of talking about and discussing the world, the things you're experiencing and seeing, and I find it very tangibly interesting.
Yeah. It's well, to not go to say that like it did take me a long time to just like kind of, because I was always like weighing out like whether or not people like this, whether or not like it's like, would I even hang this in my house? I was like, no, this is scary. I wouldn't even hang this in my house. But if you can really understand like the struggles that it takes to find that, like, or if anybody like to say that that's you, to really take pride in it, and to say that this came from like my own personal experiences, and this wasn't just a picture that I, you know what I'm saying, got inspired by and just recreated. Like,
Right.
It's much more fulfilling, definitely.
So one of the things that we were talking about with the scale and the importance of the scale was that you're talking about the miniature and how much more powerful it could be large, and your inspiration from, of course, the church and early Renaissance, and really how those artists played up the awe of those spaces as well. And, you know, it was really meant to be a place to come and to think about more, you know, maybe spiritual, maybe divine, however, you know, you want to talk about it. And I kind of get some of that from yours too.
Yeah, well, it's what stops somebody like walking through a museum? What's like, why is this picture bought? So that they continue to look at it. What makes them not like, what makes them like hate that picture in a year? Just like, I'm sick of looking at this, like we need to get this down. What keeps the Mona Lisa on the wall? And it's the depth, it's the, you know what I'm saying, how much one can really take from that. It's what stops that individual is the personal experience that can be translated through that person that stopped. They're continuing to walk in that, like, I myself might not speak to everyone, but if one person stopped and like got lost with their eyes, like, what more could I ask for as an artist?
Right. You're really intent on having your viewer stay and look and experience.
Yeah, or even like in this picture, it's like maybe you hate the picture, but there might be one character in this picture that you might see yourself in.
Oh, I was going to ask you too. So since you started more figural in your pieces before you went to the more patterns and the movement, how do you see your artistic style maybe progressing? Is there something new that you're looking forward to creating in your works?
Yeah, it was there's a couple pieces that I'm working on right now, and I went through like a black and white phase, then I went through like spectrum colors, and then like I feel like the next one is going to be much more minimalistic as far as like patterns go. Maybe I'm thinking, I mean, like they're all in their own way of print to me, but more so something that I can like wrap on a 3D object, you know, something that can continue on, like, cause my also sculpting, like, I would like to incorporate those two just because I don't like to neglect all of it, because if you don't use it, you lose it, you know? So yeah, hopefully I could get it, I could really solidify it and push myself in that direction, but I can't control how fast that happens. I realize that, like, sometimes, like, sometimes I could bust out a whole bunch, and then sometimes I could go a month without it, but when it comes, it does come in waves.
That's really interesting. I love the idea of being able to work in all of your methods and techniques that you are proficient in, you know?
Yeah, even like working at my job, like I'll start like veering away from the project that I'm currently working on, and I'll just really do my own thing that's in the complete opposite direction. As far as, like, if I'm painting over here, I might just like start sculpting on this one I didn't even need to, just so, you know, you just got to stay sharp. You will lose it. You will lose it. Yeah, and just keeping that fluidity going.
And that's similar how you work in your personal studio too, right? You have multiple pieces usually that you're working on, and
Well, right now I'm actually at Red Tape Gallery downtown, and at Peterson Studio, and it is a mess. I mean, it looks great behind me, but I'm glad these guys are working. I'm really happy to be here, and happy to be incorporated with everything that they're doing. So hopefully the connection's better, and yeah.
Yes, this was wonderful. I really appreciate your time. Is there anything else you would like to add to the discussion before we end?
My name's Short Justice. I like art, and I like to keep your eyes moving through fluidity of abstract and organic objects.